Good morning and welcome back to Sunday Storytime here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be reading Decapitation from the pages of the Hachette Partworks Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine. Decapitation. The Ultramarines had been told that the world could not be allowed to fall, that without its colossal farms, billions would starve. In the first hour, they had joked and shared battle stories, and cheered for the Primarchs and Macragge. It was the 6th hour of fighting now, and Fabian's ammo counters sounded in his helmet like a funerary bell. While the Space Marine could dismiss the red warning sigil in his helm, he could not dismiss the inevitable. The Tyranids were winning. It mattered not that Fabian and his squad had killed dozens of the beasts. For each that died, 3 more seemed to take their place. It was impossible to discern the surface of the planet. The ground was carpeted with corpses, rippers weaving beneath fallen termagants to capture any wasted biomass. So far, 2 of his battle brothers had died, and he felt their loss bitterly. He had fancied Cassius for a sergeant one day, while Antonius was barely more than a new recruit. There would be no replacing the experience or courage these warriors brought to the chapter. Fabian was not afraid of death. No Space Marine was. But he would not countenance further losses. Every warrior was needed by the Imperium, and Fabian would not spend them without reason. With a grunt of dissatisfaction and a sharp gesture of the hand, he commanded the squad to withdraw, covering them in a fighting retreat with his penultimate magazine of ammo. He and his remaining troops, a dozen or so warriors drawn from various shattered squads, fell back behind an acid-stained bunker. The walls would not hold for long. No matter. Fabian had not come here to fight, but to think. And Space Marines were very quick thinkers indeed. He muted the grisly din of battle, thousands of claws scrabbling on the rockcrete outside, and the hideous gnashing of alien teeth, and opened the squad-wide Vox. Theoretical. Further continued action without alteration means unacceptable losses. Gilliman's blood flows in our veins. We will not spill it without good cause. I require suggestions. Callus, an Infernus Marine whose fiery temper matched his armament, was first. We have combat knives for a reason, Captain. Let us cut our way through this horde. Who claims our sword arms will falter before their numbers do? Fabian considered Callus's words. Perhaps in a mortal soldier's mouth they would have sounded like bravado, but Callus was a Space Marine, and there was sense to what he said. Still, the Tyranids were lethal at close range. Already Fabian's armor was straining from acid burns and deep claw rents. The next to speak was Malik, a Terminator of considerable age. Fabian knew Malik as a good warrior, but the old veteran had never shown much aptitude for command. Still, what he lacked in tactical knowledge, he more than made up for in the kind of earthy, practical advice that old soldiers are full of. His voice rumbled over the Vox like a thunderhead. Find the biggest one and take its head. It worked on Macragge. It'll work here. Fabian nodded. This was good. My thanks, brothers. Practical. Faced with overwhelming odds, we expend our remaining resources, slaying a synapse beast. Disruption to the Tyranid command network will allow us to defeat any bioforms in hand-to-hand combat with greater ease. Commencing operation in 5 seconds. On my lead. The Vox clicked with acknowledgement signals. There was no suggestion of doubt in the squad. They would perform their duty or die in the attempt. Fabian, as was his duty, went into the breach first. The scanners in Fabian's helm revealed the Tyranids were almost through one of the bunker's walls. Fabian charged it full on, shattering the acid and weakened rockcrete with a ceramite pauldron. Behind him, the squad opened fire, their final bolts and gouts of flame carving a path through the endless swarm. Fabian scanned the horde for priority targets. There, towering above the serried ranks of the termagants, a hive tyrant, a psychic nightmare that imparted the hive mind's will to all nearby Tyranids. Fabian could feel its alien mind scratching away at his own, as if seeking entrance. Let it see, thought Fabian. Let it know that it is doomed. Fabian gave the order for the strike. Infernus Marines, light us a path. All other units, fire on my target. Spend everything you have. We break them or we die. Fire wreathed the squad and turned the termagants at his feet to cinders. Fabian thrust through the horde, using the sheer mass imparted by his battle plate to force through the ranks of the enemy. The Hive Tyrant turned and roared. Was it mocking him, challenging him, or was this simply a calculated response designed to intimidate him? Fabian answered the beast's cry with a pulverizing hail of bolter rounds. It charged, and Fabian held firm. Every one of his bolts, and everyone fired by his battle brothers, would have to land on target if he was to live. The first few rounds exploded against some kind of psychic shielding, but the creature could only resist such an assault for so long. With a wave of energy, the creature's defenses buckled, then broke. Still, it pushed forwards, heedless of the grievous damage being inflicted upon it. It was now only a few paces from Fabian, and his ammunition had finally run out. However, his courage had not. As it raised a huge blade of bone for a brutal strike, Fabian sprung forward and brought the butt of his rifle down hard upon the creature's head. Weakened by bolter fire, the chitin split, and the Hive Tyrant perished in a burst of hissing acid and splintered bone. The effect was instant. A ripple of discord spread throughout the Tyranids as their singular will dissolved. They still gnashed and slashed, but there was no order to them. They were animals. Perhaps they even felt something akin to fear. Deprived of their connection to the malign intelligence that directed their actions, the termagants' focused assault became uncoordinated and frenzied, leaving them vulnerable to the Space Marines' disciplined counterattack. Heartened by their sudden reversal of fortune, Fabian drew his combat blade and raised it high. We march from a crag. Kill now for the Primarch, for the God Emperor, and for your very lives.